We go live in 1 minute. Live. Nobody's on yet. What you need? Oh.
I would like to call to order our Board of Aldermen special meeting, our retreat workshop for February 15th, 2021. For our invocation, I will call on Reverend Lowe Davis, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you for the blessings of this day, and we especially today ask that your light eternal shine on those who have departed, and that you give comfort and strength to those who mourn. Guide us today with your wisdom to make good and right decisions for the city of Southport and all who live, work, and visit here. Amen. Flag.
Thank you, Reverend Davis. Item D is the approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Allen and then Alderman Lombardi. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Our ethics statement. If any members know of any conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest with respect to matters on the agenda, please so state at this time. Okay, thank you. Item F will be our workshop, and again, I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for being here today. Mr. Alt, thank you for keeping your record going. Happy President's Day to everyone. It's nice to see the flags out, and I will call on City Manager, Mr. Hargrove.
Thank you, Mayor Hayden. So today we're going to go over the proposed performance appraisal system. It's going to allow us to get away from the across-the-board raises, and it's basically a pay-for-performance program. But before we get started, I would like to bring Randy Jones and Lisa Anderson to the front and introduce y'all to a new program we're starting here in Southport called Southport Connected. One of the things that we all want and feel a need for is the transparency in government and how we go about doing things. I think this is one tool that we can use to make this happen. It's about a 10-15 minute presentation that they'll give you Once that is complete, if you have any questions for them, please don't hesitate to ask. When that is done, we will go into the performance appraisal system. Unfortunately, today, this particular part of the workshop doesn't really align very well with the PowerPoint, so we're probably we will look at it in front of you and walk through it, how it's going to work, and so hopefully we'll be out of here by about 1 o'clock. Actually, I'm just kidding. We should be done by 10:30, 11 o'clock. So without further ado, here Randy Jones and Lisa Anderson.
Southport Connected, the City of Southport's community notification system. In this video, you'll learn what exactly the Southport Connected system is and how it works. We'll cover what kind of information is available to you and how to enroll. We'll also go over the mobile alert app. The goal is for you to leave with a better idea of how this important tool can be of service to you. If you're anxious to get signed up and you just need instructions on how to enroll, feel free to skip ahead to that topic in this video. Southport Connected was created specifically for our community so that you can stay informed on all things Southport. Whether it's severe weather, a public safety emergency, a community event, or a message from the mayor or city manager, you'll be in the loop on all important city communications. This is a free service providing important notifications to Southport residents, businesses, visitors, and employees. You can stay connected with both emergency and non-emergency notifications via phone, either cell or landline, email, and text. If you live in Southport, you're no stranger to emergency situations, historically in the form of severe weather. Having access to real-time updates can help keep you and your loved ones safe. Southport Connected is our new community notification system. It's built with the OnSolve Code Red emergency alert service that has been customized just for Southport. Let's start at the beginning. The Code Red emergency alert system from OnSolve is a reliable and flexible mass communication tool. You may already be familiar with this program as it's used by emergency services teams nationwide. For instance, Brunswick County uses Code Red for emergency alerts at the county level. Southport has contracted with Unsolve to use the Code Red system with customizations made just for Southport. Southport Connected is built on the Code Red system, so when you see Code Red logos or references in the tool, that's why. Code Red is at the backbone of Southport Connected. Okay, moving on. The Southport Connected service is based on your physical location. If you live or have a business inside of the City of Southport municipal limits, as denoted in the red on the map, then you are included in the program. Code Red comes with an existing database of publicly available contact information within a given area, such as publicly listed phone numbers. Southport Connected includes any existing data inside of the red area, plus data from new enrollees. Everyone inside of this area that has valid contact information in the Code Red system will automatically receive Southport emergency alerts. The Code Red database only accounts for partial data, and your most current contact information may not be included. So take a moment to register to make sure that your correct contact information is included and set up with your preferences. You may also opt in for additional notifications, which we'll discuss in a moment. And, of course, you may opt out of Southport Connected at any time. To get started, follow these simple steps. Choose the method you'd like to use to enroll in the program. Then, create a managed account with your contact information, adding your address for geo-targeted information. Choose the type of information that you'd like to receive. Remember, emergency alerts are automatic. Then, choose how you'd like to receive your notifications, by phone, email, or text. Okay, about enrollment. We're really excited to connect with you, so we've made registration easy by providing several ways to enroll in Southport Connected. You can enroll in the City of Southport website. You can text to enroll to receive access to the registration form on your phone. Or if you don't have access to the internet, that's not a problem. We've got you covered. Just a side note, if you've previously signed up for Code Red with Brunswick County, you still need to register for this Southport-specific tool and customize your profile. Enrolling online is easy. Simply go to www.cityofsouthport.com/Southport Connected, and then click on the Enroll Now tab, a little pencil icon. Then click the Connect Me link, and you'll be directed to the Southport Connected enrollment form. You can also use your cell phone to enroll by texting Southport Connected to 99411. That's Southport Connected all together, no spaces. You'll then receive a text link to the enrollment form. We know that not everyone has access to the internet, but that's okay. You can still enroll with a hard copy form and receive important notifications on your landline phone. Just complete the information on the form and mail it in to us at City of Southport Communications Department, 1029 North Howe Street, Southport, North Carolina, 28461. That's City Hall. We'll take care of getting you set up in the system so you don't have to worry about it. Let's talk about notifications. As I mentioned, when you enroll in Southport Connected, you'll automatically receive emergency alerts from the City of Southport Emergency Services team. However, you can also choose to receive additional information that's important to Southport residents and businesses. Your options are severe weather alerts from the National Weather Service, that's location-based, of course, community updates. This includes messages from city leadership, public services announcements, notifications when the monthly newsletter is released, and other topics to keep you in the know. You're busy. Places to go, things to do. Happily, you can choose to receive your notifications in a number of ways. You can receive them by phone, cell or landline, by text on your cell phone, or by email, or by all of them. It's really up to you. Now, before you get started signing up, here are some helpful tips on getting registered. Let's take a second to explore geo-targeted notifications and why it's important to you. Geotargeting technology means that location-based notifications such as severe weather, public services announcements can be delivered specifically to the community members that need to receive the information. For instance, tree trimming, road work, or mosquito sprays in your neighborhood, or, heaven forbid, a tornado or other location-specific emergency. You'll get a heads up. Geotargeting is all about informing and protecting you, specifically. In order to take advantage of notifications that pertain to your location, you'll need to enter the address of your home or business when you register for Southport Connected. If you opt in for the National Weather Service severe weather alerts, you will automatically be prompted to enter and verify your location. If you've entered your address into the form, you'll be prompted to verify that the location is correct on a map. If the location on the map is accurate, then you're good to go. If the marker on the map is not accurate, then you'll need to adjust it so that it kind of just sits right on top of your home or business on the map. You can zoom in and out on the map to get your bearings. You'll be prompted to verify your final location selection before you're done. Again, you want this to be accurate for weather alerts and city services updates. Okay, let's dive in. This is just a brief overview, but you can download and print these instructions in a PDF document on the Southport Connected webpage if you'd like. First, you'll want to select Managed Account, because that will enable you to manage your profile whenever you need to update your contact info or preferences. If you have a Google, Facebook, or Twitter account, you can use those credentials to register and access your profile. One fewer password to remember. Then, enter your address for your primary residence or business location. Next, add your phone information. You'll be able to add more than one phone number, such as home, cell, or work. If you have a TDD, TTY device, check that box. If you'd like to receive severe weather alerts from the National Weather Service, check what types of alerts you'd like to receive. Then, add your email. Again, you can add more than one, for instance, spouse or child's email too. The last bit is about terms and conditions, data privacy, and to verify your information. Once completed, you'll receive a confirmation. If you've included your email address, you'll also receive a confirmation email. And that's it. You're officially connected. Another way to receive Southport Connected alerts and notifications is via the free Code Red mobile alert app for mobile phones. This is a good way to stay informed with what's happening in Southport and other Code Red supported communities. This is great if you travel. Your alerts will reflect info specific to your location. It's also good to keep track of properties that you may have in other places, or even family and friends that live outside of the area. The app is available for both Android on Google Play and iOS in the Apple Store. The app does require a separate registration process from the one you create for Southport Connected. If you'd like more details about this mobile app, click on the Mobile App tab. So as we wrap up, be sure to add the Southport Connected caller IDs into your cell phone that you can recognize them. With so many robocalls and so many people concerned with the status of your car insurance, you sure don't want to miss an important notification. City messages will have the caller ID 866-419-5000 for emergencies, and caller ID 855-969-4636 for non-emergencies. If you do miss a Southport Connected alert, never fear. You can either call back the incoming phone number to hear the last message that was sent out, or go to the Southport Connected webpage to see the last 5 notifications. Thank you so much for your time. We've built this tool to be flexible and relevant in service to the Southport community to keep you safe and informed. I hope that you feel comfortable with the tool and how to use it now. We can't wait to connect with you.
Okay.
That was
Thanks. Great. So just a couple notes on this, and obviously if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. The public rollout is scheduled for March 1st. So we have a bunch of different awareness tactics that we are putting in place that are for the community, in addition to the ones that we're doing for employees, obviously. So we're working like crazy in the background to get that done. If you're wondering about people outside of that red zone that we saw on the map, such as St. James or BSL, they can still register. We are not limiting this. The intent is for Southport residents and businesses within that red zone. But anyone else that is in the general vicinity who is interested in getting the information may certainly register, and they will get that. They will not automatically receive emergency alerts, but the people in the red zone will, because their contact information, theoretically, is already in the system that Code Red brings to us as part of the package. Anyone outside of that area is not within our database that Code Red has created for us. Questions? Wow. Okay. All right. If you do come up with any questions, please don't hesitate to give Randy or I a call, and I will be sending out the email that has this link in case you want to share it with friends and loved ones. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
I started this discussion with Chris May, and the reason it started is that I came to him and said, how do we get information out to the public in a rapid manner? And so they started looking into it. Mr. Alt talked about it also, brought that discussion up as well, and I expressed that I'd be working in the ER and the nurses would look at there's phone and say there's not going to be school tomorrow, or school's going to be a half day, and I would go, either you're Nostradamus or how do you know that? And they said, we get alerts on our phone. And so I said, well, golly, the city needs to be able to do that. So Randy and Lisa have been working on this. This has been going on for a year almost, and they've been working probably more diligently in the last few months. When did you start really hitting this hard, Randy, would you say? Yeah. Right. Right. And, yeah. So this is one more way that we can stay connected to our citizens, that they know what we're doing. It's a matter of safety, a matter of trying to save lives in the most dramatic way, or the other way is just when we're having meetings or special meetings or that type thing. So this was and it's easy to sign up, and we're going to be putting out more messages in terms of on the rollout. We've already taped a mayor's update. We did that last week, and they wrote a fantastic script, and all I had to do was read it in my usual talented way, right? So, so I thank them for that. They've done just a marvelous job. Thank you, Mr. Hargrove, for making sure this is pushed through. And it's just one more accomplishment that this board has helped to develop. So I thank you all for that. And again, thank you, Randy, and thank you, Lisa. Lisa, just a marvelous job. And I just cannot express how fortunate we have. I'm fortunate to have you both, and the Department of Tourism, Department of Communication is just a strong, like all our departments, but in particular getting the message out for Southport and our citizens. So thank you for that.
Okay. I'm sure all the aldermen get questions all the time from the public about what's going on. The latest I've been getting are, when's the next stage of where is the sewer repair going next? And for example, would this include, say, a proposed schedule of which block around when? And then I remember asking you about this kind of communication a while back, and you said, we're working on it. and I trusted you.
Yeah, well, thank you for trusting me, and I appreciate
And
it.
sure enough.
Yeah.
But the thing that triggered my call was, remember when Public Works was cleaning out the sewer lines? And some people were very surprised to suddenly have to clean their whole bathrooms. Would this include, okay, this week we're going to be blowing out the sewer lines on this block, this area, et cetera?
Response to that. But basically, this tool, thank you. Basically, this tool can be utilized for things that we know up front and that we can prepare a statement for. Now, up front, in case of emergency, like when the EOC is operational and we're, in weather, those can be pretty quick because that's all we're doing. But in theory, we would like to have information come in that is solid and planned. And what that means is for streets specifically, unless there is a way for us to know in advance exactly what's going to happen to release to the public, we want to make sure that there's credibility in the system. So there are certain things, such as the sewer work, that may or may not give us a wide heads up in advance. So we can do things for planned activities, absolutely, and that is absolutely our intent, that we will give people a heads up as soon as we can on whatever it is, whether it's a mosquito spray or some other service. But specific to the sewer work and where that plan is going and forecasting ahead, I'll let Gordon answer that.
And just let me add to that real quick. One of the things to realize is when you were talking about like the issue with the sewer from before, that's where geo-tracking comes in. We're able to find that one specific area that is having that problem, and we can send them the message to say this is about to happen. So that's why the advantage of this program with geo-tracking. We can be block specific. So that would be where, with the right knowledge given to us, we can give the message out.
So to answer your question, Lois, yes, we can use it on the House Street Sewer project. In reality, we don't know how long it's going to take. That section of House Street between Bay and Moore, we had told the merchants that it would be hopefully sometime between 4 and 6 weeks. In actuality, it's about 2.5 weeks. So as we move up, we're looking at probably each block being somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks. It just all depends on what they run into. So we could give you a timeline of where we're going to be, but it would strictly be a guesstimate at this point. What we're trying to do, and actually we kind of got caught a little flat-footed on this one because Tom Stanley and myself have been trying to go ahead of the crew block to block to talk with the merchants and let them know what the expectations are. We had no idea they'd be done 2.5 weeks down here. So this afternoon we're actually scheduled to go out and start meeting with the merchants in the next block. So we can come up with a schedule, but I would probably not set my clock by it. Because it could be a little more, it could be a little less. Hopefully we can get in there and we're not going to run into any obstacles. Of course, the weather is going to have an impact on how long it takes. So if it'll ever stop raining, I'm sure we'll get a little foothold and move forward pretty quickly. But yes, we can use that, and that'll be that's the benefit of this program, is we can communicate better with the public, which increases our transparency.
One other thing. We do intend, once we get through the public launch, we do intend to structure a program that is specific for local businesses. During some of the recent weather instances we've had and speaking with them through the merchant program that we did in summer, it became clear that we need to have a better conduit of specific information for business owners here in town. And so that will be our next push after we have the residents and communities all sorted out, that we will go out to the businesses and let them know, hey, this is for you too, and this is how we're going to use it in get a dialogue going.
So does anyone have any more questions for Lisa or Randy? Okay, great. We get to jump into my stuff next, which I know that John Allen's going to find riveting. So before we get started on the performance appraisal system, I'd like you to look at the back of your first package. You're going to see this little chart right here, okay? You're also going to see the rest of our fiscal year 21-22 budget schedule. Okay, so please make a note of that. Keep that for your records. The sheet, this particular sheet it's what we talked about at the very end of the first workshop. Some of our priorities, some of our projects that y'all listed. And I went through it and I added the city dock and I added dredging around the city dock. This in no way is complete. I included this in your packet today because I need your input. Strategic thinking and strategic planning is not just what Gordon wants. It's what you as representatives of the community think are important. So what I would like for you to do is take moments to go through here. I've got a estimated cost, I've got a priority, estimated duration for a planning cycle, and potential funding mechanisms. The cost, some of it are just WAGs. I don't really know, but we know it's going to be expensive. If you look at the priority, the ones, and of course our printer didn't come out as nice little pretty colors, so but I think you can get the gist. The ones that are dark are what I think should be considered priorities. The ones in the lighter color are stuff that are priorities but not quite as important as the darker colored ones. That's my thoughts on that. I do want your input on that so that you can tell me what you think is important. And feel free to add that to our sheets as we move forward. You're welcome. Does anybody have any questions about that? And one other thing that you'll see on that sheet is at the very end of the project or policy, there'll be a front slash mark, and it'll tell you whether we're looking at that as a project or whether that is a policy. Okay, it's kind of hard to put a financial number to a policy. You see what I'm saying, Karen? Everybody see that little slash mark? It's hard to put a number on a policy. We can put a number, whether how accurate it is on that project, pretty easily.
I'd suggest that we go ahead and split it and make it two sheets, one that's policy and one that's projects, for that very reason.
Okay. Go ahead and make your recommendation on that, because I'm going to ask for these back, and then we'll revisit this. The one thing that we have to consider is that strategic thinking and strategic planning is not something that we're going to do in 2 weeks. This is something that we're going to have to take one step at a time, but we're starting that process. And as we move forward, we will further refine these projects and these policies as we move forward to come up with a solid foundation of a 1 to 3 year plan, 3 to 5 year plan, 5 to 7, 7 to 10 years. And as you can see, we have a lot of stuff. So we have a lot of work ahead of us in order to be moving forward on this path. So before I get into the performance appraisal system, does anybody have any questions on that? And again, I want your comments, write it down. You don't have to turn those back in to me today. You can make a copy of your sheet and drop it off to me at Town Hall. That would be wonderful. And if something's missing on it, please add it to the list. Okay? So I know the next thing that you're all really on the edge of your seat about is our new performance appraisal system that I hope we can implement this new fiscal year. You all know one of the things I've talked about since I've been here has been building a culture of excellence within City Hall, our staff. How do we go about building that culture of excellence? Well, we do it by building organizational capacity. We give the staff the tools that they need to be successful. I think when you guys interviewed me, I made it pretty clear that I'm adamantly opposed to across-the-board merit increases, because then when we do that, we are rewarding everyone exactly the same. And I think we all realize that in any organization, be it public or private, you have a certain amount of people that are high performers. You have that middle group that are, average performers, and that's okay. And then you have that group who are low performers. Do you really think, Karen, let me just ask you, do you think that it's equitable that people that are what we call seat warmers get compensated the same as people that are high performers?
Thank you for that question. What I would say is that in all of this, you're right. Everybody's on different levels of things, just in human nature, and it may be some of their understanding of their job or whatever. Anybody that's what would fall in somehow less than performance, I'm hoping there's tools to bring them up and help them meet whatever those expectations are.
Absolutely. So that's one of the great things about a performance appraisal system. We evaluate each individual on their own performance. And when someone is falling short, we help that they become part of the process to becoming better. They have to be. We give them the tools to be successful, so that we can build that organization capacity, so that we can do more. We can be more efficient. We can be more effective. Because like I spoke about last week, we're constantly being asked to do more with less resources, less revenue. So it's important. Now, sometimes we're going to have to spend a little bit more on training and education, but in the long run, it just pays out when you have a highly effective, engaged organization. So I'd like to walk you through this. This is really pretty simple. I know it looks kind of daunting at this particular point in time, but it's really pretty simple. If you'll hold on 1 second for me. So in front of you, you're going to see 3 different performance appraisals. And one is for a staff member who is not meeting expectations, one who is meeting expectations, and then one who is exceeding expectations. So let's do the not meeting expectations first. Let me give you a brief overview of this before we really get into the nuts and bolts on it. Half of an individual score is based on institutional goals. Is worth 50% of their score. Individual goals are worth 50% of their score. The score ranges, hopefully we won't have any of these, between 0 and 3, 3 being the highest. So this particular individual, you'll look at, I'm not going to go through the instructions. When we incorporate this into our appraisal system, I'll personally do the training with the department heads. And, if you have any questions reading through this, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. But you can read the instructions for completing this performance document. I know it looks a little daunting at this particular point, but it's really not. So if you'll go over to page 3 of the first one, you'll look at our institutional goals, and you can see that what they're aligned with are expertise, accountability, customer-oriented, team-oriented, compliance and integrity, and then there's a little block on page 4 at the bottom for supervisors. That would only be for your supervisors. Now, the total of this score here, you'll see the weights of these cannot equal more than 50. So the first one, expertise, I've listed it out to keep it simple at 10, 10, 10, 10, and 10. That could end up being 15 and 15, 10, 5, and 5. Any particular category can be no less than 5. It has to be a minimum of 5. So you'll see that these are the kind of things that a typical appraisal system would incorporate. Do you work well with others? Do you show up to work? Are you friendly to the residents? You can look through here. We've got precision, resourcing, innovation, development, accountability, productivity, autonomy, prioritizing, coordination. Are you customer-oriented? Clarity, awareness, attentiveness, diplomacy. And team-oriented, collegiality, collaboration, contribution, and attendance. These are all standard institutional goals that we would expect anybody to have, whether it was in a regular appraisal system or a performance appraisal system. So if you'll look down to individual goals, part 3, you can see now when we start aligning, this is the beautiful thing about a performance appraisal system. The staff member actually gets to participate in identifying what they would like to accomplish over the year. So this is where they get to, if the supervisor sits down with them and you've got a sub-performing employee, that they can kind of guide them along the path to develop the tools that they need to be successful. And so what we look for in those goals, it's not like we're going to ask you, it's not something irrelevant like I'm going to take Mr. Rogers' flounder fishing class and be successful at it. It's not relevant to their job. It has to be, number one, relevant to their job, or number two, it has to be in line with the overall strategic goals of the city. Now, you might have someone in public services that say right now that, you know, they're in grounds, but they might have an interest in stormwater. So they say, you know, there's a class that's offered by the Rural Water Authority in stormwater management. I would like to take that. While that's not directly in line with their everyday job duties, it is something that is in line with the strategic goals and plans of the community of the city. So that's how you develop these goals. You develop anywhere from 3 to 5 specific goals. In this particular case, for this individual, their first goal, and I didn't list it out, because there's just too many to list out. Their weight of this was 15. Their second goal was 15. Their third goal was 15. Their fourth goal was worth 5 points. So if you'll move on over to page 9 of this particular individual. Yes, ma'am. Well, the weighting will be the importance. So, I mean, we could have a 5 and a 5 and a 15, 15, and 10. You see what I'm saying? So the ones that are weighted higher are the ones that are going to have the more importance to them. Any other questions before we move to page 9? Okay, so right there on page 9, you're going to see your score sheet. And so in expertise, this individual got a 1 point. So we're going to rate them between 1 and 3. And between 1 and 1.69, they're not meeting expectations. 1.70 to 2.69, it's meeting expectations. And 2.70 to 3, they're exceeding expectations. This particular individual scored a 1.5 on their expertise, which gave them a score of 0.15. On accountability, they scored a 1.25, which when you score it goes to a 0.125. They scored a 1.10, which you can see led to a 0.11, and you keep going down through the list, and at the end of the day, this individual scored a 0.6 on their institutional goals. When you go down to the individual goals, let's say they sat down with their supervisor and they identified goals that they wanted to accomplish over the next year, and they just didn't do it. So they ended up getting a 1.10, which equated to a 0.165, and you'll see that they really did nothing during the year to help themselves, to further their education, to further their capacity to where it comes. And it came down to their score was a 0.545, which gave them a total score of 1.145. And if you'll look up to the top there, that is a score that's not meeting expectations. I don't believe we have anybody on our staff right now that's doing that. That is a severe example, but it's one that I wanted you to see. And so this individual, on their off-cycle review, what we'll do is we'll do a review 6 months in. If you guys want to move forward with this, we'll start doing these reviews in April and May and put them in place for the next fiscal year. Probably around December, we'll do an off-cycle review. We'll coach staff up. Look, this is coming up. You need to get this done because your next pay raise is going to be dependent on this. If at the end of the day this is their final score, then you'll see on page 6, there is a talent development plan, learning plan. This will be the spot that we will coach folks up and tell them, this is your plan moving forward, this is what you need to achieve, and how are you going to go about doing that. So at the end of the day, this individual scores a whopping score of 1.145. So y'all make a note of that number. Okay, so let's go to the next package. This is someone that is meeting expectations. And again, I'm not going to go through all we just went through that, but if you'll look at, I might have went into a little bit more on this page. Let me make sure. Yep. Go to page 6, page 9, and look at this individual's scores. So, and they all have different weights. It's no individual will have the same weight, because some folks might be forward-facing with customer service. Some folks might not. They might not ever be forward-facing. It's not fair to rate them with the same weight on customer service if they never have to deal with customer service. That fairness goes both ways. But you can see that this individual scored a 0.20, 0.225, 0.05, 0.30, 0.10 for a score of 0.875 on their institutional goals. On their individual goals, they did a fairly decent job. They might not have got every one of them, but they came close. And they scored a .50, .50, .125 for a score of 1.125. Their total score was a 2.0, which basically meant they're meeting expectations. Okay, so that's in that middle area that we, that we have. So what we want to do with this type of employee and the one that's not meeting expectations is start to pull them up a level each time. That is how we're going to build capacity in our organization to build a culture of excellence. Okay? So let's go to the third one. Now this is your top 20% of your employees that they're going to do a great job no matter what you pay them. And again, if you'll look at page 9, this particular individual, top of their game. Let me know when everybody's there. Page 9. Okay, so this particular individual scored a .22, a .405, a .14, .435, a .125 for a total score of 1.325. In their individual goals, they did a .6, .39, .405 for a total score there of 1.395. When you combine those together, this individual scores a 2.72. Okay, so this is someone, if you look at that chart, they're right over at that 2.70 of meeting expectations. So you can see it's pretty simple. Well, it might not look simple to you, but I assure you it is. As we move forward in this, so we're going to sit here and say, well, how does this impact Southport? Well, right now, the other day, y'all approved a 2.5% pay increase for employees. That went across the board for your top performing employees to your lowest performing employees. Really, that doesn't inspire anybody to do better, does it? I mean, y'all can answer, does that inspire anybody to do better when, say, that man over there or that woman over there is really giving it their all, and this person over here is sitting on a log being a potato, and they get the same raise as somebody who is really working hard? Does that seem equitable to y'all, John? Okay. So what we do is, and this is something I want your input on, well, the part I want your input on here in just a second is come April or May, we'll tally these scores. I'm not sure, and I would like your advice on this. Do we, when we tally these scores, we're going to actually have the top performers, and it'll be a list going all the way down, okay? Do we do that organization-wide, or do we do that department-wide? Because what's going to happen come next year when we start to build that budget, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to say, Mayor, Alderman, we've got $100,000, and this of course is not true or accurate. We've got $100,000 in payroll. What percentage of that, if any, would you like to go toward employee merit raises? And you might say 10%. And so that tells Melanie and myself how much money we're giving out for raises. And then what we do is we start at the top of that list for the high performers, and we start doling out those raises. And we keep giving raises until we're out of money. And if you fall down below that threshold where we're out of money, well, you're out of luck. That's the hard reality of it. You want to get a raise? You do better. And that's the bottom line. Now, it might be something that y'all might consider doing a COLA every year for everyone, but the merit part of it is strictly on performance. It's called pay to play. I think this is very important. I think when we start, and you might not think that's fair, and I see your hands raised. But you know, when you sit there and you help develop part of what your individual goals are, and you can't accomplish those, that's on you. Because if we're giving you the opportunity to develop the tools to put into your toolkit to be a high functioning or high performing employee, then that's on you whether you're going to do the work or not. I'm still torn, like I said earlier, whether we're going to do this as an organization wide and drop it down, or should we do it in departments. I'm leaning toward departments because, you know, I don't want to have a supervisor that is consistently giving everybody threes just so his department will get a raise, which would put his department at the top of that list. So I would like your input on that. What's your thoughts on that? What your thoughts are on this? And now I'll entertain some questions. So y'all, which...
You said that you were going to ask us what percentage of the $100,000 should go to raises. But as aldermen, we don't really know the performance. So we have to base this just on budget, which is not the true story.
Say that again now?
Well,
Why wouldn't it be?
It wouldn't be a true story. We don't know what each individual does. So the only way we can do that is say, okay, we can afford 2%, and that's it. So this is what you're after.
That's right.
Okay, not so much about what the individual is doing and not doing. And I also agree department-wise would be the way to go.
Let's face it, we would love to give a raise every single year, but unfortunately, we never know what the economy's going to do. Like look what we're dealing with COVID. Fortunately, we've had a decent year. It could have been a lot worse. And so that'll be something that, you know, although they'll get these scores, they just might not get any raise this year because the money's just not there. Okay, and we won't know that until we start closing out the year. But nobody knows that. We don't know, but you shouldn't judge, well, I'm not going to get a raise this year, so I'm not going to work toward improving myself. Does that answer your question, Tom? Okay.
Resources director explained to me one time that a performance appraisal is only as good as the person doing the appraisal. So my question is, how much training are we going to give the appraisers, the supervisors? I mean, I see that we are focusing on objective, measurable performance levels and categories to get the subjective out. You know, you may like an employee tremendously, but as you put it, they might be just a bench warmer. So good that we are objective on all of these, but still, when, for example, accountability, what constitutes accountability? How do you break that down so that the appraiser knows exactly what to measure? My question really is, are we going to do some intensive training of the appraisers, the supervisors first?
Yes. And so the first step in that process is that I will sit down with the supervisors and show them how this works. And then we will talk about scoring, and then they will sit down with the employee to develop their goals. And then it'll come back up the chain, and I will sit down and make sure that these goals are in line with what they need to be, either your personal job description or in line with the strategic plan of the city. And we will train and train. This is not something that's going to be perfect right away, but we have a year to get it right. And so, yes, there'll be a lot of training to go along with it, Alderman Davis.
So I have several, I guess, comments maybe and related questions. I think the best approach, one, would be there should be a budget allocation per department for raises. That's how I would do it. The other thing that I'd like to know is how much raise would be allocated for somebody who's evaluated as exceeding versus somebody meeting expectations. Are we going to have a scale to do that? And the other comment I would have is I think to approach this, maybe the first round of evaluations done are management, so that there's that learning experience, that feedback, because it's what Lowe's said is evaluations, personnel evaluations are largely related to how well an evaluator is trained and also how seriously they take that task. And there's going to be different amount of responsibility on your different managers, which is an inequity in itself. Public Works has more employees reporting to a manager than tourism does, or maybe utility billing. So how well that manager performs their job as an evaluator is going to influence their employees' ability to maybe be considered meeting or exceeding. So maybe as we implement this, the very first round of people that get evaluated should be the managers. And then you guys can sit down and they can tell you what they think of the process and things like that, and maybe how they understand the process to work, versus starting out with our very lowest class of employees being evaluated by people that haven't been evaluated themselves. I believe in this system. It is the right thing to do. It's going to be challenging to start it, but it is the right thing to do. But I also want people to feel like there is that ability to get raises each year. I think we, as the body of policy, will need to find a way to build in our budget money every year for every department to have money for raises. Because if somebody is really performing well and performing hard, they should get their due reward. That's how you retain employees. That's how you get their, and have them be loyal to you, is you actually give them what they deserve for that hard work. Don't say, oh, well, the economy sucked this year, you don't get a raise, even though you went out and got your associate's degree. I mean, that just wouldn't go for me. We'll have to find a way to build it into our budget that each department has a set amount of money set aside for raises. It doesn't mean everybody always gets a raise, but somebody, the best performers in that department each year, should get some kind of a raise attached to their performance evaluation. That's what I believe.
Who's been on the board longest here? Karen? How many years in a row have city employees gotten a raise? Can you recall that?
To my knowledge, every year there's a COLA, at least a COLA. I know there's been a 1% several years. I'd have to go back in the budgets to look, but I believe every year there's been at least a COLA, is what I would say. I think one year there may have only been a COLA. I'm not sure. But that it's ranged from the COLA and 1%, to my knowledge, is when you're talking about across the board. Now, I'm sure as individuals, the management, city manager at that time may have given raises based on some kind of individual. To my knowledge, I think there have been some of those, but that wouldn't have come to the board.
I think it's pretty traditional at this point that when most employees outside of the police department complete their 90-day probationary period, they get a standard raise. I think police officers have to go through 12 months before they get a raise. And I think that as the practice has been in the past, that when you've completed a certification, you went from a level 1 to a level 2 public water supply operator, there's been a 2.5% step increase with that. So, you know, there have been ways for folks to get raises, and the thing about it is if you're accomplishing your goals and we're being objective about measuring those goals, and that's why we have multiple layers when it comes back up. It'll not only go to that supervisor, but it'll come to me, and we'll go through each, and I think we've got 70 employees now. Well, before those final numbers are tallied, I will sit there and with the department head, and if need be, the employee, and go through their rating and see if they agree with everything that we've done.
Often, I just had a couple observations. Often, I think performance can be communication and expectations, and maybe a supervisor's better at expanding in one way or driving that in one way or another. So you're saying that on a 6-month basis, you would do a check-in. And I don't know if you I guess you don't single anybody else out differently. I was just wondering if that could be a quarterly basis when you're talking about education and people, you're trying to build them up. Might be their expectation is and just check in to see. I just feel like if we could check in maybe a little bit more than just in the middle of the year, then those people have a clearer understanding of where they are. And I think oftentimes that, you wake up, I don't know about y'all, but I wake up and it's 6 months later, So if we can, whatever we could do to amp up our communication, I think as employees and employers and whatever all that is, and supervisors.
Let me circle back around to what you just said. Let's say a supervisor is not communicating very well, or maybe it's me that's not communicating very well to a department head what my expectations are. Those should be things that I should work to improve in my own performance plan. And so that's how we're going to move through this. And I do believe that we can't underestimate the importance of communication. I mean, that's really one of the most important things we do is communicate. So it's like training the trainer. So
I definitely agree with Alderman Sharkey's idea of running this through the supervisors first to let everybody see what it's like.
And as far as the percentage of raise, that only makes sense that your top performers with the highest scores are going to get a higher percentage of raise than the people at 2.50. But what about the people that are just barely above the not meeting, but they're in the meeting? If the money lasts, they should get something as well. But really, whether the money lasts or not, that's going to be up to the Board of Aldermen about how much of a budget that they, or an allocation that they want to make to this appraisal program. I really think that this is how you build organization capacity, is you give the people the opportunity to learn, to better themselves, and before long, we'll become that high-performing organization, that culture of excellence that you hear me talk about all the time.
Will we get it without having names attached to them? Will we get some kind of a report that says there are a certain number that have performed above and certain number performed below, without identifying them, but just give us the statistics of how? Will we be receiving that information so we make an informed decision about how to?
Absolutely.
Okay. how much time is this going to add to your workload?
I think you're probably looking at it as I did the very first time that I ever saw it. And I was like, man, this is crazy. I don't have time for this. But once we go through this a couple of times, it's really, I can't tell you how simple it is. And the response that we get from people when they can set their own goals and they know that money's tied with it, it's really quick. It's not a lot. It's not a big time eater. It's not.
And I'm not, the goal is to not reallocate the raises, but to pay the raises, but try to conserve the money we spend, try to reduce our outlay. We're not reallocating. We're trying to sharpen the budget and save money.
Not at all. What we're trying to do is we're trying to pay people for performance. I want to get rid of the seat warmers, the people that don't do their job. There's plenty of people out there that want to work. They want to work hard. I want those type people to be a part of what we're trying to build here. What it basically does is it pays those who are high performers. It encourages people to get additional training, to gain additional knowledge. And if you don't want to get on what we're trying to do here, and I mean, we're giving you every opportunity to be successful here. So no, it's not about saving money or reallocating. It's about making or giving our employees and staff the opportunity to be the best that they can be.
Is this going to come with a policy that if they don't meet a certain number of times would be grounds for dismissal type of situation?
That's a case-by-case basis. I won't say that it's going to lead to dismissal. What it will lead to is that you will get tired of not getting raises other than COLAs. And so that should be an incentive enough for, I mean, guys, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I want that horse to drink water. I hate to put it like that, but that's what we're trying to build here.
It sounds like we're trying to inspire all of us to be better, to improve ourselves, to do everything we can, as Mr. Hargrove says, to build a culture of excellence. And this is not punitive at all. This is just a helpful guide. It's not a budgetary measure to save money. Actually, you want to reward the high performers in the organization, as Mr. Hargrove describes it. So, and I don't think the city has had a plan like this before, have they?
I'm not 100% what the city's had, Mayor.
So this is an objective. It's inspiring. It gives them buy-in to it. These are the goals that they set from themselves that they want to accomplish. And if they don't accomplish it, like he said, it's on them. I mean, if you don't get your raise, it's really on you. And so it's part motivational as well. So I think it looks like a lot of work initially, and it probably is. Any new program that you start it takes a while to get used to it. I mean, just for example, when electronic records came to the physicians, we would been using paper all those years, and you thought it was almost a revolt. But once we got it understood, the process and everything, we wouldn't go back to paper if you paid us double. It just is so efficient. So I think that's what we'll find. So I think this is a great program and a great opportunity.
I have something. This is, if we had a union, if our municipal employees were unionized, we would have something very similar to this. We would be required to. And so this is not, you haven't reinvented the wheel. You've got something very good here. and very well tailored, I think, to Southport. But the fact is, this is the structure for fairness in taking care of properly rewarding and encouraging city employees. So thank you for this.
Yeah, I think part of this is, too, it holds the city accountable to be a good employer, because you're going to put goals that are going to improve them. So, and the city has to live up to providing those goals, or the means by which they can achieve those goals. And so I think that's a good from being as an employer standpoint as well.
Just want you to understand that this is not a program that's designed to be punitive. This is not a program that is designed to be punitive. This is a program to help everyone excel in their current capacity within the city. I'm a big fan of it. It's worked everywhere I've been, and I think it's wonderful that you get to sit down and discuss what your goals are. I mean, this is not something new, goals. I've already talked to several staff. They come to me and they ask me, how can I become a better employee? How can I put myself in a position to advance in the organization? And I'm like, well, these are the things that you need to concentrate on. This is the direction that I see the organization going as it grows. So you might want to consider ABC. And so all this does is put it on paper and allows those folks to be rewarded for accomplishing those goals.
Can you talk about where this system originated from?
Proprietary information, Laura. I'm sorry, I can't. I will after this meeting's over.
So we're assured that it's been constructed in a valid process.
I assure you, it's been vetted by the best HR professionals in the world.
Okay.
It's been lawyered. So, Mayor Hayden informed me last week I was going to try to bring a vote before the board today to approve a contract for the city dock, and I was not aware that we don't take board actions in workshops, and so we're not going to do that today. And so the thing that I would like to do is during our next Alderman meeting in March, I would like to bring this before the board and have this adopted. So with your permission, I would like that to include that on the agenda. And I think we could take a motion for that, can't we, Mayor Hayden? Okay.
Excellent presentation. Thank you, Mr. Hargrove, for this. And I'll entertain a motion to put the performance appraisal system on our agenda for our next monthly meeting in March. Yes, Alderman Mosteller, and then second by Alderman Sharkey. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Okay. Motion carried. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? So you just mentioned the city dock contract. So if we're not in a position to approve that today, are we going to have a special meeting then to do that?
Alderman Allen, we are. I don't know that it's going to happen this week. We've got a lot of things going on right now. If at the earliest, I could probably try to do it Thursday. It would be just a matter of meeting maybe Thursday morning. Right now I've got to get together with Heather, and we have some issues with meeting right now, and I'll discuss those with you after the meeting. So if not this week, first thing next week.
Great. In regards to the budget schedule you gave earlier, can you talk a little bit more about that, especially what part are we involved with? Are we involved with these meetings with department heads? It says March 1st through 21st. Is that?
My budget schedule, hang on one second. I'm good. No, the March 1st through the 21st, that's when department heads will meet with Melanie and myself. And then on April 8th, we'll submit those budgets to you. And then that's when we'll start scheduling the department heads to come in and justify their budgets to you. We'll probably do that in a half-day workshop. It shouldn't be long because we're sharpening it at that particular point in time. And then on May 7th, we'll submit it to the clerk for the mayor and board of aldermen for the May agenda package. And then we'll advertise it and move right through the process. There might be a few more meetings that we include in there, but I will give you fair warning on that because I really think we need to revisit the strategic thinking, strategic planning. I don't know that suits well for a regular board meeting. It kind of makes it longer. So this will evolve somewhat, but I just wanted you to kind of see this as a preliminary schedule as we move forward.
Thank you. Next item will be mayor's comments. Again, I want to thank the Department of Tourism, Department of Communication. Lisa and Randy, thank you just for a fantastic presentation. This Southport Connected is going to really enable us to get information out to our citizens, to keep them notified of certain developments in the city, emergencies and that type of thing. So I look forward to the implementation March 1st. Mr. Hargrove, thank you for the workshop, the 2 workshops that we've done. I think they've been most informative. And we all have some reading to do, and I think it's going to pay off in the long run. I'm excited for our city and for our city employees in that regard. City manager comments?
No, sir, I believe I'm good.
Board comments. Mr. Allen? Mr. Spencer? Alderman Sharkey? Madam Lowe Davis?
I want to thank the city manager for what you've been doing with the retreat last week and this week. I've learned a lot. I feel like I've been to school. Every time you make a presentation to us, I've learned a lot, and you're making us a better board. I have a question. Are there any updates for us on the city clerk? Anything further?
Yes, Ms. Dutton will be starting with the city on March 10th. Of course, right now it's contingent on the return of a background check and drug screen, but I don't anticipate a problem with either one of those. She's already completed the drug screen and filled out for the background check. I've not heard anything back from that yet, but I don't anticipate a problem. Short of a problem, it'll be March 10th. So I believe that's a Wednesday. Is that a Wednesday?
She'll be here for our March.
I believe so, yes.
All right.
So she will be.
Boy, immersion by fire.
And she has found a place to live. So that's fantastic.
Thank you. Alderman Lombardi. Mayor Pro Tem. All right. Yes, and Mr. Hargrove, thank you. It has been it's been educational for us. So this is sort of how you're asking us to set our individual goals, and our individual goals are trying to get this performance appraisal system, start thinking strategically and strategic planning. And so this is a great first step. It's a great way to start out this new year, early on in the new year in February. So I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, Madam Lowe Davis, and then second by Mr. Lombardi. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.